want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. We really appreciate it. We have a good program for you. I think one that's going to be very informative. And an earthquake is a very serious situation. And we have a gentleman here who's been through one, and I'd like to bring him up now to talk about it. Okay?
Good evening, I'm Lane Joel. I'm a survivor of the 94 earthquake as well as the 71 Silmar quake. I want to talk to you about a couple things that I think are real important to be prepared for an earthquake. Let me start off with emergency light. What I mean by emergency light is to have some kind of light in your hallways, in your bedroom, that will come on when the power goes out. We have some that we're going to be giving away tonight. I'm sure the folks in the back of the room have some for sale. And it's kind of important. Right now, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're going to have a cable box or your clock radio or something that will give you a little light in your room, which allows you to go walk to find the potty and all that sort of stuff. But when there's no electricity, it will be pitch dark. And that's darkness that you never want to wake up to, especially after a violent shake. As soon as you get your ducks in a row and you grab your flashlight, at the foot of your bed you should have a pair of shoes enough that you should feel comfortable walking around with broken glass and perhaps debris that will be within your house. You want to be sure you have clothes at the end of your bed. You don't want to be running around in your underwear or in your pajamas, so have some clothes that you can put on immediately. That's really important. You want to be sure that you don't have things hanging behind your bed that can fall while you're sleeping. Shaking happens violently and quickly, and it's not like you have time to move things out of the way. A quilt about this big has pockets. You can put your glasses in it, and it tucks in between the mattress and the box spring. So when you need your glasses, you just reach down for them. Don't think they're going to be like my wife put them on the nightstand. She couldn't find them that morning. And I knew she was okay because she's yelling at me, I can't find my glasses, I can't find my glasses. I was more concerned about my kids. So I grabbed my flashlight, which was not on the nightstand anymore, on the floor, but I managed to find it, and ran to go check on my boys. But these are important things. The stuff you want to talk about that you need to have at the end of the bed are some good shoes and some clothes to put on, because you might not have a chance. One of the first things you want to check for is the smell of gas, natural gas I'm referring to, if you have a gas leak. And I'll get into that in a few minutes. Look for water around the house. That will be the next thing you want to do. Make sure you get your car out of the garage. Did we have a demonstration, somebody doing a demonstration how to, because there's no electricity, how to pull that cord? Is somebody going to do that? Okay, perfect. Then get your car out of the garage. Your car, if it has a half a tank, it's empty. You got to have gas, because there will be no gas stations that will have power that you can fill up to go run anywhere. Make sure your cell phone is fully charged before you go to bed, because there won't be any electricity to charge it. If you've got a headboard where there's things above your head, take them down or secure them to that piece. I know a lot of injuries occurred from things falling on people's head while they were in bed. You want to have plenty of water, be it bottled water, some of the packs that they're giving away, somewhere you want to have water. I'll give you an example. When I buy cases of water at Stater Brothers, and when I open my 4th case, I'm out of water. I got to have 5 to 8 cases of water in my garage for us to drink and live on. As far as flushing your toilets and whatever, hopefully your neighbor has a pool. And that's what you're going to shower with as well. You campers out there will have the advantage because you can eventually go get your motorhomes and use that. If you have a really nice wine rack or liquor cabinet or whatever, either make sure it's secure so that none of that stuff falls out, or at the very least put the heavy stuff on the bottom, because you're going to have liquor everywhere. I know that for a fact. It happened to us. If you have valuables that are up on shelves that you want to keep as keepsakes, I think the people in the back will sell you some Goo Gone, and you actually put it on the bottom and it'll stick to the shelves or furniture or whatever you want so that the earthquake won't shake it off. Our TV was in the middle of the room when we woke up that morning. Okay, well then I'll end it there.
Everybody's heard of the Richter scale, and I just wanted to, give you a little bit of education on the Richter scale. Probably many of you are more knowledgeable than I am, but it's important to understand that the Northridge quake was measured at 6.7. Now, Lane will say that it was really more like 6.9 or 7.0, but
It was actually registered originally at 7.1. As soon as you see the 7.0, the insurance companies have a different way of covering.
okay.
Under 7, different.
Okay, Lane. I believe you. What I wanted to point out is the difference between 1 point on the Richter scale. And you can see by this graph, from 1 point to another, energy increases by 31 times when you go from 1 point to the other. If the Northridge earthquake was a 6.7, and we had a 7.7, it would be 31 times more energy exerted when that quake hits. And guess what? If we have a San Andreas earthquake, and by the way, there hasn't been a San Andreas earthquake for about 300 years. The San Andreas earthquake has erupted as far as we know 3 times. And the average time between those events was 150 years. It's been 300 years since it's gone last time. So it's due. Now I'm going to tell you some things about a book called The Big Ones by Lucy Jones. How many people here have heard of Lucy Jones? If you ever watch the news about an earthquake, Lucy Jones is always the one that they go to get a report on the quake. There was a quake last week, wasn't it? In Laverne or someplace. Tuesday, a 4.4. It was about 3 miles deep, or 5 miles deep, I think. And can you imagine a 4.4 to a 7.4? What's 31 times 31 times 31? That's big. And what Lucy is saying is that the San Andreas, if it does erupt, if it does slip, then it will result in an earthquake from 7.5 to 8.2. I went to a seminar where she was speaking, and she was talking in Banning, and she was referring to the Banning Bench. Do you know what the Banning Bench is? The Banning Bench was caused by the San Andreas earthquake. She said if there's another San Andreas earthquake in excess of 8.2, the Banning Bench will rise 15 feet. So we're talking about an earthquake here tonight that none of us have experienced. We're talking about a possible earthquake of 8.2. Okay, huge earthquake. We're sitting on the San Andreas Fault, which is the where the North American tectonic plate and the Pacific plate meet. You've heard of the, what's that circle called?
Ring of fire.
Ring of fire. We're sitting on the Ring of Fire. Fiji is sitting on the Ring of Fire. They had an 8.2 earthquake last week. The good news about that was it was 230 miles offshore, and it was over 200 kilometers deep. So nobody felt it. It wasn't that big of a deal. If we had one, it would be more like 30 to 40 feet. Lucy Jones said, and there's a study, there was a shakeout conducted by her and about 300 other scientists in 2007, 2008. And this is just a summary. And when I'm done with this slide, we're going to raffle off 3 of the books, the big ones. It's a phenomenal book, but this is some of the information from the first chapter of that book. If there was a 7.8, there would be thousands of landslides, 1,500 buildings would collapse, 300,000 buildings damaged, fires will destroy entire cities, 1,800 people will die, 53,000 will need medical attention, no gas, water, electricity, communication, sewer systems for months, and we will not have assistance from emergency services for a long period of time, weeks or months. So this is not a minor thing. If the San Andreas decides to go off, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight, how you should prepare. You know, I really want to scare you a little bit. I don't want you to go out and drive recklessly or anything, or, you know, act foolishly or anything, but if it does hit, I think it's very important that you be prepared. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening. All right. We are going to raffle off books now. Okay, get out your tickets. It is a great book. Okay, Lucy Jones. If you ever have a chance to see Lucy Jones, be sure to go and visit or go and see her seminar. She is just a wealth of knowledge on this subject. We're gonna, and I could talk on and on about how bad the San Andreas earthquake could be, but I want to now talk about what kinds of things might happen. Just before I do that, let me make a point that Lucy Jones made. If we could show the video, she would have made that point. She's not as afraid of what's going to happen during the earthquake. She's more concerned about what's going to happen after the earthquake. When you have no power, you have no water, you may have structural damage to your home. You can't get out of the area because the roads are all shut down and the bridges have collapsed. That's what she's afraid of. That's what she's scared about. That's what she's concerned about. So we're going to talk about some of the things that could happen. Injuries from falling objects, gas outage or gas leak, prolonged electrical outage, fire and smoke and related toxins, lack of food or water, and lack of shelter. And we could probably add to that list, but we don't have time for that. So I'm going to introduce our fearless leader, our committee chair, to talk about falling objects, Bob Rhodes.
As I said, I went through the Silmar earthquake, and our gas was off. And you think you would get response very quickly, because we do normally. I had a little mini stroke 2 years ago, and I called 911, and they were there in about, I don't know, it seemed like 5 minutes. Well, they didn't turn our gas on for 2 weeks. That's how long it took. So you're going to be on your own. So when you're looking at overhead fans and lamps and chandeliers, so when these things start swaying like this, there's a lot of weight there. And when it sways and it falls, you get hurt. Your television, any large your cabinets, your curio cabinets, or your bookcases, they will come down. All it takes is for them to get started. There are ways of attaching them that are very, very simple, just so that they don't get the motion started. Once they get the motion started, they're gone. Glass objects, not only are the glass objects dangerous for hitting you, but they're going to break when they land. When they land, you're going to walk on them. And especially if it's dark. There's all kinds of tools. Home Depot has them. We have examples in the back of things that you can use to secure things, to keep it. But you're on your own. You're on your own. There won't be anybody. And it doesn't have to be an earthquake. It could also be a fire. It could be a major accident on the freeway, and your loved one could be, as mine is, out in Indian Wells on her way home, and she couldn't get to me. She has to be prepared in her car. I have to be prepared at the home. And you have to be able to take care of yourself. The next slide. How do we switch it? There you go. We're going to talk about how to turn off the gas. And we're also going to talk about electricity and generators. These are things that are very important. and things that, when it's dark, cold, and you got no place to go, you sure wish you would have had it.
So, gas is an important thing. I started to touch a little bit when I spoke earlier. After things settle down and you're able to get your ducks in a row a little bit, you want to go around and smell. That's really listen and smell for gas leaks. If you don't listen or hear or smell anything, you'll see things like if you see your grass outside moving kind of funny, that could be a broken gas line in your ground. If you go around to where your stove is, now keep in mind our heater's in the attic, so that's kind of tough to do, so you can't really check it really well, but you need to have your nose attuned to what's going on there. If you're unsure, don't light a match to see if it's leaking. Take a little bit of water and some dishwater soap like that and a brush and paint it on the pipe. If it bubbles, you got a leak. That's when you're going to get a tool like so to turn off the gas valve. Currently, your gas valve is in a vertical position like in the on as you see on the diagram on the screen. Halfway or vertical, like that, horizontal rather, is going to be turning it off. Not partial, but flat, right straight across. Turn it off, and you just have to wait for the gas company. During the Northridge quake, we didn't lose gas. We would today because the city of Los Angeles requires gas shutoffs if the quake is over a certain magnitude. Out here in Riverside, we're not requiring those yet. But so if the gas, if you don't see or smell or listen for hissing and that, then you will then leave the gas alone. That's really good to have some gas for heating water and things of that sort. Odors fade, so you just got to be really aware. The gas valves are the kind of thing I keep. This is my personal one. I noticed that Sharon has some there that they're going to give away. Okay, I got it. I tried it. It seems like it's gone. These are kind of good. I keep this on a screw right by the garage door. So in the event, hopefully I can get into my garage and I can get outside the garage somehow and turn my gas valve off. You'll know that where your gas meter is. Everyone should know where that is. Everyone should know where their breaker box is. So they can turn off electricity if you've got sparks going on and things of that nature. But the gas is really important because that's you're going to have some serious injuries with that.
We're going to have a question and answer period at the end. We want to get through all the information, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers afterwards. So if you get this hold for us. Okay, I'd like to introduce Chandra from some company called Edison. I can't figure out what they do, but he says he's important. So here he is.
What are you doing today? The interest in this room is really amazing. I've never been in a room with so many people. This is really amazing. And to help me with today's discussion, I also have my friend and colleague, Mr. Joe. He's a retired field engineer, so he'll be able to talk to you more about generators and what to do in case of an outage. Before he comes on board, I just want to talk to you. Right now, Edison has a lot of monitors across our territory. So these monitors and cameras can detect for a very, we are trying to get better at it, but we also have a direct link with the seismological team of LA. So they can give us a small advanced warning in case of an earthquake. And I also want to touch about fires as well, because now we are in wildfire season. We seem to be 24/7, 365 days a year. So we do have cameras in very sensitive areas on all our equipment, which can give us advanced warning about the rise in heat in those areas. And if we know, or if we feel, or if we predict there'll be a fire, we are now preemptively turning off power to those lines. Be it transmission or distribution, we will be preemptively turning off fire. Yeah. It's better? Cool. Now, in case of an earthquake, we will not have that much of a warning where we can turn them off preemptively, but we do have automation on all our lines. So there may be circuit breakers that will make sure that there's no power to lines that are down. But please, please, please do not assume that the lines are not active. If there is a down power line, stay away from it. Please do not touch them. And especially so, if it's a wet ground, do not even get close to it. We do advise you to keep a radius of at least 20 feet away from the fallen line if it's wet ground, and warn people off to stay away from them. And I think Brandon has touched about most of my points that I want to talk about. The one thing that I do want to emphasize on, and that's the reason why we accumulated those flashlights, make sure when you have your flashlights that you keep the batteries with them. How many of us do that? Not all of us, because we feel that if you keep the batteries in the flashlight, they're going to drain and they're going to spoil the flashlight. So I'm guilty of that too. I have my flashlight in one area and then the batteries in another area. So in case of an emergency, this becomes useless. So make sure that they're close by, or at least just reverse the charges and the batteries are still in the flashlight. And please, under no circumstances, light a fire in your house. No matter how cold it is outside, we have had this happen too. People actually light a bonfire in the middle of the house because it is cold outside, no power. Guess what? If there's a gas leak, it's going to go up so fast. Okay? And then to talk about generators, I'm going to have my colleague, Mr. Joe, come up.
Can you hear me now? Just to put a little light on the subject, in case you can't hear me. What I want to talk about, when the power lines do go down during an earthquake. All right, I want to emphasize about solar first. I have solar on my home. I have 20 panels, and it's 5 kilowatts of energy. On average, during the sun, it produces about 4.8 kilowatts on average. But the feature that I like the most is when the grid goes down, I have a 120 volt, 15 amp power source to keep the refrigerator going, since my wife is diabetic, and keep the insulin. And of course, keep my beer cold too. So, how many people here in the audience have solar on their homes? How many of you have the capability of additional power when the grid goes down? Okay, I only see a few. I would call and get in touch with your solar companies to see about modifying that. I don't use batteries because, first of all, they're very costly and it's high maintenance. The system I have, I only need it for daylight hours anyway. Even on a full moon, I'm producing about 2,500 watts of energy on a full moon. The fact is, my solar panels face south, so I have 365 exposure. The other thing is about generators. Well, I use a generator. 2,000 watt generator is sufficient just to run some general deal. But the thing about generators is most of us are familiar with the gas generators. That's mostly here. But actually, we have what they call tri-power. That means these generators are capable of running on gasoline, natural gas, and propane. That's the one you want. Because the gasoline, first of all, if you don't rotate it, it becomes sour, so to speak, contaminated due to moisture content in it. But when you really need it, you're not going to have it because it will foul up the carburetor on the generator motor. If you have natural gas is still intact, you have an unlimited source. And propane, in my house, we have 5 tanks of propane, both for our barbecue and a cast iron 2-burner stove, as well as if and when I get my generator. So those are the things that I'd like to pass on to you. And of course, lights like these and all the ones that were passed out tonight, I can't emphasize having those kind of lighting capabilities, especially the crank-up ones. I think we got some to be given away tonight, maybe. So that's what I really want to say about power is a tri-power generator as well. If you can't afford it, Yamaha and Honda make one. It's about 2,000 watts, and it sells for about $300 or $400 for a simple generator. That's about it I have. Thank you for listening.
3052. 3035.
Here it is, right here. 52 is right here in the second row. He's going to talk about fire.
All right, everybody, can you hear me? All right, good evening. My name's Richard Horner, and I work for Riverside County Fire Department, Office of the Fire Marshal. And they asked me to come here to speak tonight. In case of a fire, obviously, have a escape route. 2 ways out. If you can't get out your door, try the window. You have to have 2 ways out at all times. I'm going to talk about how to prevent some fires. How many have gas dryers? Dryer fires are very big if you don't clean your linen out and your ducky. Have that done. If you ever want to see a dryer fire, go online, YouTube, and take a look and see what the damage does, especially if you leave clothes up there. Smoke detectors. They are required to be tested once a month. Who's gonna do that? I have no idea. So they have to be replaced every 10 years. And who's gonna enforce that? That's a state fire marshal requirement. So have your smoke detectors. If you can't reach it, get a broom handle, just pop up there and test it. They should all be interconnected in this neighborhood. Okay, fire extinguishers. If you need to get one, know how to use it. Make sure it's handy, it's up to date, current. That way you never know, you may need it. Candles. You don't want to use candles. That's one of the major fires in homes. Cooking. How many cook here, walk away and go, okay, what did I forget? The food's still on and the stove is still on. They recommend bring a spoon or a towel with you. So if you walk away, you'll go, what is this? And then you'll go, oh, I'm cooking, and the gas is on. Trust me, it works. Your electrical, make sure you don't overload any circuits, and you have any issues, contact a licensed contractor, and they'll come out and take a look for you. Don't try to do anything yourself. And any smokers, if you're sleeping, you're tired, smoking does cause fires inside the homes. Believe it or not, it happens quite a bit. Okay, one of the things we recommend is know your neighbors. Any of your neighbors have a disability. Make sure you know your neighbors, that if something happens out there, you all have to stick together. You are going to be a team. So any of you are campers out there, you know, get your sleeping bags out, get your cots, get your tents, canopies, cooking equipment. You never know. You'll be the hit on the street if you have everything. So, and one more thing. Anybody, or if you have a neighbor who's a hoarder, you don't have to report him, but just to let you know that an ordinary home has enough combustible material in there, but once you start adding more and more to it, the fire increases. You have more fuel in there, and then if we try to come in for medical aid or emergency and try to rescue you, there's no way we're going to get in there. We've had issues where we couldn't even open up the front door and the house was on fire and there was 2 people in there. So that's the tough part. We had a house where newspapers, they saved newspapers stacked up to the ceiling in every home. Once it caught on fire, they both couldn't make it. So just simple things like that. And I'm gonna leave my cards up here. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, and we can talk or send me an email with any of your questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
Richard, could you touch on smoke versus fire, when to leave the house?
Okay, if you're in your bedroom and your door is closed and your smoke detectors go off, you want to make sure, you don't want to grab that door handle. You want to use one of the most sensitive parts of your body, is the back of the hand. Start at the bottom, work your way up, see if you can touch the door handle, and if you open it up, you can check to see if you can get out. Smoke is superheated gases. You can die from smoke and never get burned from fire, if that makes any sense, because that's some nasty stuff, especially with all the plastics and the material that they build furniture with nowadays, and the drywall and the electrical, the plastic. You'll die more of the smoke than you will getting burned. Pardon? Toxic fumes, that's correct. And just make sure that you guys are aware. Your addresses are current and lit. That way, any response. But in case of an earthquake, you won't see us for days. They'll be out and about one place at a time. And that's if our station and the engines get out. So I would buddy up with your neighbors, and my neighbors, I recommend them get everything you need. And they go, why? You have everything. We're coming over to your house. So I find myself going, okay, do I have enough of this? But you never know, because I may have to leave, and they're going to be stuck there. So as a neighborhood and as neighbors, know each other and check on each other. You never know. Okay? Thank you.
I had an experience, I was in a hotel fire, and that's putting your back of your hand to the door really works. Okay, Dennis wants to talk to us.
Hello again. I just think it's important, the reason I asked Richard to talk about smoke is that if there is a fire in your house and you do not know how to put it out, or if it is of any substantial size, leave. Don't try to put it out, because so many times the smoke will kill you, even though the fire might be relatively small. So it's best, unless you really feel that you can put that fire out, get out of your house, call 911 if you're available. All right, I'm going to talk about food and water a little bit, and then about shelter. Now, first of all, everybody should have 1 gallon of potable water per person per day. Do you know what potable means? You can drink it. Okay. You got, when you came in, most of you, unfortunately some of you may not have, you got a can of water. You can buy a case of that. As a matter of fact, right back there tonight, you can probably buy a case of that. And then each of those cans has a shelf life of 50 years. 50 years. Let me see, how old will I be in 50 years? I guess I don't have to worry about it. Anyway, you really need to have enough water. And like Wayne said, he has cases of water. I have 2 cases in the garage at all times. I have a case in my car, I have a case in the house, and I rotate it. And this is bottled water. I just rotate it. You know, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll get a case and I'll put it in the car, take the one out of the car, put it on the shelf, etc. Just rotate it. It's always good to have that much water. And I also have, how many got the packets of water? Hold those up. Those packets of water, that has a shelf life of 5 years. Okay, and that is water. Does it say 50 on it? No, that's the 5, I'm sorry. You can buy a case of that too. I don't know how much a case is, but you can buy like 50 of those packets for a reasonable price as well. That's a handy way to have your water. Okay, I have I have a backpack in the car with water in it. I have another kit in the house that has a lot of that water in it as well. Store extra non-potable water in barrels for laundry, toiletry issues, for bathing, etc., pool, etc. Uh-oh. I can't wait out. See those barrels up there on the right? Those are at the side of my house. I actually set those barrels up when we had a drought to collect rainwater. And they actually filled up. Those 3 barrels filled up. I have another barrel as well. So I have 4 barrels of water. Now you say, well, I haven't rained in a long time. How are they going to fill up? I fill them up with a hose. Pretty simple. And then what we do is we take the water out of one barrel, and we take the water out of the barrels, water plants, etc., so it gets refreshed all the time. And what can you use that water for? Will your toilet work if the water is shut off at the street? If you don't have any water? They will if you have a bucket of water from that. You're not going to drink that water unless you have one of the filtration straws that we're going to hand out in a minute. So have that handy. Store non-perishable food enough for weeks. What's non-perishable food? Give me some ideas. Everybody says Spam. Oh, he said cans. I prefer Spam myself. I have about a case of it, I think, just in case. And cans and beef jerky. Those kinds of things last forever. And they don't cost that much. What you do is when you go to the grocery store, every time you go grocery shopping, just pick up an extra can or 2 of something and put it on a shelf someplace for your emergency food. Easy to do. Okay? And you can rotate that as well if you need to. Okay? But have that extra food. You know, they say have enough for 3 days. If we have an 8.2 earthquake, have enough for 3 months. Have a way of cooking the food, purifying the water. Lots of ways you can do that. If you have the barbecue, you can use that. Unfortunately, if the barbecue is hooked up to your house gas system and the gas is out, it's not going to work. So you need to have an alternative in that case. If you have a barbecue, that might be a good way to barbecue things. You can have a gas stove. We're going to give away a gas stove. And it's just a one grill or one surface gas stove, one burner gas stove. So have a way of cooking the water. And make sure you have extra fuel. Shelter. Your automobile is one possibility. And I think the automobile is a great thing to consider. But you need to get the automobile out of your garage. You need to know how, see that thing on the right? Does everybody know what that thing on the right is with the red pole on it? How many people know how to open and close their garage door manually? Great. If you don't, learn how to do it. If the electricity is out, that isn't going to work. If there's an earthquake, one of the first things you should do is get your car out of the garage. If there's an aftershock, it might make that garage door so it doesn't function. You want that car out of the garage. And you want to have your emergency kit, your car kit in the car. Okay, so you have a place where you can have security and where you can have comfort for a while. Know how to open the garage door. To avoid CO poisoning, don't operate your vehicle indoors, that's obvious. Don't ever allow your gas tank to below 50%. Lane covered that. Make sure your car kit is complete and refreshed regularly. I forgot to bring my car kit in. I may run out and get it so you can see it later. Oh, you have it? Okay, Pat brought her car kit, so if you want to look at what's in that car kit later, you can. We will put out flyers to tell you what should be in your car kit as well. Shelter. Consider having a tent and camping gear available. If you're a camper, that's great. Make previous arrangements with friends or relatives so that you have a place to live until things return to normal. My daughter just entertained her best friend and her son for about a week because of the holy fire. Okay? That was nice. Okay? And you should also, talk to your friends and relatives and neighbors. Well, probably your neighbors are going to have the same problem you do if your house is having a problem. But have some place where you can go. Make those arrangements previously. If you have an RV, that's great. If you can get to it. If the RV is in a storage lot across the freeway and the freeway, the ramps or the bridges fall, you may not be able to get to that RV, but if you have an RV and you can get to it, wonderful. If you have clothing and all the other things you should have in that RV. Properly equipped with food, water, clothing, and medical supplies. Don't forget medical supplies. Clothing. Pat, are you going to cover clothing? Good. Pat's going to cover clothing. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna, I'll top this Coleman stove. It's 3038.
3038. This is a one burner gas stove. Compliments of Walmart.
Compliments of Walmart. I'm going to talk just a little bit. I hope as you listen to this, you're thinking about, maybe you are, how many of you feel like you're really, really prepared for an earthquake? Okay, Cindy's got it, Nona's got it. Okay, you got it? Okay, well, the rest of us should all raise our hands now. Because, you know, I love this stuff, but we went on a trip for 8 weeks, and we left our kit at home, okay? And I can't tell you how many times we probably needed that as we were going. And it's we got one of the huge kits back here for $149, and it has everything in it that you would ever need during an earthquake or any disaster that we might face. But some of the things that really hit us while we were driving and even in the RV was that you've got to have some things just in case something happens, and the main thing is water. Now we do water too, but we just recycle the cases, but it sounds much more sensible to have something that's going to last 5 years so you don't have to worry about recycling those cases. But one of the things is, think about a case of water in your car. I mean, we have so many accidents on the freeway right now. Just think about it. You need a case of water in your car, because the second you're sitting on that road for an hour, you're going to wish you had some water. The other things that are important, if it happens at night, are these light sticks. Okay? Now the light sticks come in our case, but they break, they give you light. Now you can also, right now at the dollar store during Halloween, buy those little things that crack open with the kids. That gives you a little bit of light, but these will give you more light. Really, really good. The other thing is, carry something like this in your car, because you're going to probably, just the disinfectant cloths like you have at your home, put one in your car, because you never know when you're going to need it. The other thing is the gloves, okay? In case you're in an accident or you come upon an accident, you don't want to go out there and be touching a lot of different bloods. So you really need, you can get good gloves. You can get cheap gloves, or you can get really good gloves that will really, that are better for you. The wipes, okay? The wipes will help you. You know, it's just something else to clean up after. The major thing that I think, though, is having Band-Aids, okay? Band-Aids, you know, this is one of those little twisty things you put on your leg in case something happens. But you need a roll of the tape, a roll of the gauze, you need a roll of the tape in case something happens, because, you know, sometimes the Band-Aids don't work. And the other thing that we learned is you have to replenish your Band-Aids, okay? Band-Aids that you have in your cupboards for 5 years don't stick. So be sure you do that. The other thing is identification, okay? I usually carry a wallet that always has my license in it and my credit cards in it. So I carry a wallet versus a purse, because I always forget the purse. So that's something that's really important, to have that kind of identification. The other thing that Dennis is talking about with the clothing is if you're fixing up your kit, like one of these back here, you know, have some sort of clothing that you can grab. And maybe some pajamas to take along or something like that. Otherwise, you know, you need to grab it, but we don't all want to spend, you know, a couple days out there in our pajamas. So, you know, be thinking about some clothes you can just throw in a bag and take, okay? Anyway, think about the clothing, think about what you can put in your car so that you are prepared, even if you have to go someplace. and keep your disaster preparedness bag someplace easy to get to. Okay? Thank you.
First aid.
Well, I think Pat already covered it all. Yes, blankets. Make sure you have blankets. Just to let you know, I'm a resident here, 35 years in law enforcement. Somebody's telling me to move over this way. I'm sorry. Anyways, 35 years in law enforcement. I also volunteered for the Riverside County Emergency Management District or Department, and also the Red Cross. So I've got a little bit of a background as far as first aid and stuff like that. Rather than beat a dead horse, because we're going over a list of what you should have, one thing you want to know about your first aid kit, I think there's a flyer that's around. If not, make sure you get one. Everybody always asks me, what should I have in my first aid kit? Well, I have a list right here, all your basic stuff that you need, and then all your medications that you would particularly need for an emergency. One of the things we like to tell people is you can buy a first aid kit, but everybody has their own individual needs. So if you're so inclined, go ahead and make your own first aid kit and follow the contents list, and you'll be pretty well off as far as having enough gear and equipment for first aid. And that's it for my spiel. So I'm going to pass it off to
the 7 steps to earthquake safety. When it comes to earthquakes, there are simple things you can do to make yourself safer. The 7 steps to earthquake safety will help you better prepare to survive and recover wherever you live, work, or travel. Prepare. 1. Secure your space. Prevent injuries by securing movable items such as television sets, bookcases, and picture frames. Step 2. Plan to be safe. Create a disaster plan and decide how you will communicate with friends and family in an emergency. 3. Organize your disaster supplies. Put together at least a 3-day supply of food, water, and medication for each person in your family. Keep the supplies in convenient locations, such as your home, office, and car. 4. Minimize financial hardship. Keep important documents in the cloud or other secure location. Start strengthening your property and buy earthquake insurance. Survive. 5. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop down onto your hands and knees before the earthquake knocks you down. Cover your head and neck and entire body if possible under a sturdy table or desk. If you can't get under a desk or are unable to drop, get down near an interior wall and brace yourself and protect your head and neck. Hold on to your shelter or your head and neck until the shaking stops. Step 6, improve safety. If you're near the shore, move to higher ground as soon as the shaking stops. If you're not in a tsunami zone, improve safety and prevent further damage by evacuating your home after the ground stops shaking and helping the injured if necessary. Recover. 7, reconnect and restore. Reconnect with others and restore daily life by filing a claim with your earthquake insurance provider and help rebuild your community. For additional resources, download a printable copy of the 7 Steps to Earthquake Safety. Learn more about the 7 steps at earthquakecountry.org/7 steps. Participate in the Great California Shakeout in October. Go to www.shakeout.org for more information. Visit www.myhazards.calema.ca.gov. Learn more about earthquakes and other hazards where you live and work. Learn about earthquake preparedness, download checklists, and more at www.totallyunprepared.com. Get the American Red Cross free earthquake app by texting GetQuake to 90999. Get a premium estimate from CEA at www.earthquakeauthority.com. Earthquakes can strike at any time and often with little or no warning. Safeguard your finances and speed up your recovery by purchasing earthquake insurance. Talk to your home insurance agent today. Working together, we can be prepared to survive and recover after the next damaging earthquake.
Everybody took all those down, right? Yeah. Actually, there is a resource page in your handout, and you will have that. But for those of you who did not get a handout, we will prepare additional handouts and put them in the mailroom so you can pick them up. Okay, Bob?
I hope you have enjoyed, we have a little bit more, but I hope you have enjoyed what we've put on so far. And I hope you take it seriously, because there's only one person that's going to help you. And get a mirror and look in it. That's the person. There is no, Solera has nothing, no plan, and we don't have the facilities, and we don't have anything to help you. You're gonna have to do yourself, just like you were if you were outside in another home somewhere. You have to be prepared, because if it could be an earthquake, it could be a fire, it could be a lot of things. Power go down. Power go down, that's almost as bad. So take this seriously. Look at the stuff we have in the back. Because you have to be able to take care of yourself. Because your neighbor, he's only got enough for him. Maybe. But, you know, maybe he won't share it. So be prepared for your stuff.
I do want to make everybody aware, if you're not already, that we do have one plan in place, and that's an emergency communication plan. The Radio 101 group has, as one of the many things that they're involved with, has agreed to provide an emergency communication program. And simply the way that works is that we have amateur radio operators. How many here are amateur radio operators and are in the club? You're in the club, George. Did you forget? Okay. And we have drills once a week. And what that consists of is we have people out in the community. Some of these people have walkie-talkies, what we call FRS radios. And those people are being trained on how to call into an emergency communication center, which will be set up here at the clubhouse. Those people are trained. Those people are, no, this is a walkie-talkie. And if anybody wants to join this group, I'll give them this walkie-talkie. It belongs to Joe Beckett, but I'll give it. I'm joining. All right. But the point is, we have people in the field that will call in here, and then the amateur radio operators can call to the Emergency Operations Center in Beaumont, can talk to the people at the fire department, police department, etc. So they can give us information, we can give them information. Remember, if there's an emergency and you call 911, first of all, you might not be able to call anybody because communication could be totally down. And that was the case with you, wasn't it, Lane? It was. And we're talking about a minor earthquake there. Where you were. Okay. Anyway, so, you know, if that happens, you're kind of out of luck. So they will report. You can report that information to the Emergency Communication Center. We can get that information to the Beaumont EOC. Okay, that's very important. They can give us information to let us know what the state of the emergency is. We can provide that information back to the residents. So we do have an emergency communication program. And by all means, if you want to get involved in that program, I did put an interest form in the back of the handout where you can check that and turn that in. You don't have to have a radio. Even if you don't have a radio, you can still be one of those people that volunteers to get that information and come up to the Emergency Communication Center and report that information. So we're kind of looking at all the different angles. But there is a program available. I wanted to make you aware of that. There's also something, and we decided to restrict Ray to 25 seconds on this particular subject. And in fact, we're probably going to have a separate program on CERT. And CERT's very important. How many people here are CERT trained, by the way? That's impressive. How many people have had a refresher course in the last year? That's depressive. And that's one of the things we're going to be working on. Ray, I'll let you talk about CERT a little bit.
Yeah, I'm back again. CERT, for those that don't know what it is Community Emergency Response Team. And we're going to probably put together a cadre of people that are trained in CERT, and we're also going to have a monthly training session in regards to, getting a lot of feedback, I'm sorry, I'm going to move back here. We're going to get some training sessions together for everybody to learn about CERT. We're going to have monthly refreshers, and we're also connected with the City of Beaumont, the Emergency Office of Emergency Services. And Sergeant Ramos from the Beaumont Police Department is in charge of that program. And recently we had a conversation, and we're talking about putting together the program once again back for Solera. So we have this connection with ourselves, with the neighbors, and with the community. And hopefully we'll learn things like, because during this conversation, somebody said they didn't know how to use a fire extinguisher. One of the classes we're probably going to have is using a fire extinguisher, shutting off a valve on your gas meter and stuff like that. So a lot of practical application, and I promise that it won't be more than an hour long, but we'll try to schedule it up and look forward to having everybody here. Chris, you got anything that you want to add? You just want to sit there?
I'm going to sit here, actually.
Right. There are quite a few Solera resources available. You know, we could do this program in probably a series of 12 different sessions. There's so much to cover. And what we're trying to do with EPAC, Emergency Preparedness, Emergency Preparedness Education Advisory Committee, is we're trying to provide as much information to you as we can. So please, when we put information in the Gazette, pay attention to it. We're going to put flyers in the mailroom for you more and more. The handout material that we gave you has an abundance of information in it. Please look that over carefully. I know it's small print, but we wanted to try to get as much on one page as we could. But look that over carefully. We also have, we will continue to have training seminars. There is a website for the committee. It's www.soleraep.com. Again, this information is in your resource page in your handout. Also, there's an organization called PASCOM, which isn't within Solera, but there are several of us in Solera that are involved in PASCOM. And that's an emergency program for the entire CAS. And that's a very impressive group of people. And we meet on a monthly basis. They have a website, www.pascom.us. And also, you can find more information about the emergency communication program on www.soleraradio.com. These are all excellent websites. I wrote them. Okay, so please, when we provide this information, look it over. Pick it up and check it out. Take it seriously. We don't, hopefully we will never have this huge earthquake. But if you could just take a couple of hours, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, to build a kit, to prepare, just a couple of hours. We're not talking about, making this a full-time job. You can get prepared just in case. Everybody has insurance of some sort or another in this room. This is another form of insurance. Thank you.